After I was robbed, my daughter-in-law suddenly acquired a luxurious villa and a shiny new car. 3 days later, she knocked on my door, sobbing, "Stop it immediately! I detest you." I just smiled and calmly replied, "Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments." The suitcase dropped from my hand before I'd taken 3 steps inside. A drawer hung open at an awkward angle. The bookshelf looked wrong, gaps where things should have been. My eyes swept the living room, cataloging absences. The ceramic lamp my wife had chosen 20 years ago. The vintage clock from the mantel. Small things, valuable things. I moved through the house like I was walking through someone else's nightmare. The bedroom closet stood open, hangers scattered on the floor. Dresser drawers emptied, their contents dumped and sorted by hands that weren't mine. In my home office, the desk surface was clear. Too clear. My laptop gone. The file cabinet hung open, folders missing. Then I saw the jewelry box. The mahogany container sat on the bedroom dresser where it always had, but the lid gaped open. Empty. My late wife's wedding ring, her grandmother's pearl necklace, the emerald earrings I'd given her on our 30th anniversary. All gone. Someone had been in my home, someone who knew I'd be away. I pulled out my phone and dialed the police, my voice steady as I reported the address. While I waited, I walked through each room again, this time with my phone camera documenting everything. 32 years running a construction business had taught me the value of documentation. The officer arrived within 40 minutes. I gave him the list I'd compiled, every missing item, every disturbed surface. He nodded, wrote it all down, told me someone from the detective division would follow up. His tone suggested this happened every day. Maybe it did. That night, I sat in my stripped office, staring at the empty space where my computer had been. The trip to Sedona had been planned for months. A meditation retreat, something my daughter had suggested after the anniversary of her mother's passing. 4 days of quiet and red rocks and distance from memory. 4 days when someone had known I wouldn't be here. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a notification, my banking app. I opened it, expecting another promotional message. 3 wire transfers, pending. Completed yesterday, $150,000, $175,000, $125,000. My chest tightened. I called the bank's fraud department immediately, my fingers steady on the screen despite the rushing in my ears. "Mr. Tucker, I'm showing 3 large wire transfers initiated from your account using your online credentials," the representative said, her voice professionally neutral. "The IP address indicates access from your home computer." "My laptop was stolen," I said, "along with everything else." She put me on hold. I stared at the numbers on my phone screen, nearly 500,000 taken. The accounts I'd built over decades of careful work, of contracts fulfilled and budgets managed, gone in 3 transactions. By 10 o'clock, I was back at the police station. Detective Morrison took the report this time, a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. "Mr. Tucker, I'll be honest, financial cybercrimes combined with physical theft suggest someone who knew your routine, your security setup," she said, tapping her pen against the desk. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying look at who had that kind of access." The words settled into my gut like stones. I drove home slowly, processing her implication. The afternoon sun beat down on the hood of my truck. Scottsdale stretched out around me, familiar and suddenly foreign. Rosa Miller was watering her rose bushes when I pulled into my driveway. She set down the hose and walked over, her expression uncertain. "Barney, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn," she began, wringing her hands. "Leonard was here Tuesday. I waved, but he seemed in a hurry." I kept my voice level. "What time?" "Around 2 in the afternoon. He was carrying a backpack." I thanked her and went inside. The spare key. I walked around to the back gate and knelt by the decorative rock near the fence. The hollow space inside was empty. In my office, I pulled out a fresh notebook. At the top of the first page, I wrote the timeline. My departure date, Monday morning. The wire transfers, Tuesday between 1 STAU and 4 SAIS p.m. Leonard's visit, Tuesday afternoon. The missing key. Leonard knew about Sedona. Leonard had a key. Had a key. My son had mentioned his financial troubles months ago. Vague references to business setbacks, investments that hadn't worked out. I'd offered help. He'd declined, said he and Cora were handling it. That was Leonard, too proud to accept assistance even when drowning. But this wasn't asking for help. This was theft, calculated, sophisticated, complete. I sat there until the sun went down, staring at that timeline. The house settled around me, creaking in its familiar way. Everything looked the same, but nothing was. The police would do their investigation, Morrison had said. File reports, follow procedures, work within the system. I understood systems. I'd built a business on them, but systems took time, and time gave people room to hide. I closed the notebook. The police would do their investigation. I would do mine. The coffee had gone cold an hour ago. I sat at my kitchen table, notebook open, pen in hand. 3 days since I'd closed that notebook with a decision. 3 days of thinking, planning, verifying. The list was simple. Who had access to my house? Who knew I'd be in Sedona? Leonard, Cora, my housekeeper Maria. But she'd been visiting her daughter in Texas that week. Photos on her social media proved it. My friend David from the business days, but he hadn't visited in over 6 months, and we'd only spoken once since Rita passed. That left Leonard and Cora. I picked up my phone and sent a text. Haven't seen you since I got back. Coffee tomorrow? The reply came within minutes. Sure, Dad. 10 a.m. at Desert Grounds? Too quick, too accommodating. The cafe was nearly empty when I arrived at 9:45. I chose a table with a clear view of the door and waited. Leonard walked in at 10:03, scanning the room until he spotted me. His gait was off, hesitant. He'd lost weight. Hey, Dad. He sat down across from me, didn't quite meet my eyes. Leonard, I kept my tone neutral. How've you been? Good. Busy with work stuff, you know? He pulled out his phone, set it on the table, picked it up again. I let the silence stretch, watching him fidget. Finally, I leaned back in my chair. Someone broke into the house while I was in Sedona, I said, conversational. Took some of your mother's jewelry. The police think it was someone who knew I'd be away. His hand jerked, knocking his coffee cup. Nothing spilled, but the movement told me everything. That's terrible, Dad. His eyes fixed on the table. Did they get much? Enough. Plus they accessed my accounts. How is that even possible? The question came too quickly, too defensive. Before I could answer, the cafe door opened. Cora walked in, her expression set. She crossed directly to our table and sat down without invitation. Leonard mentioned you wanted to meet, she said, her voice cool. About the break-in? I studied her. Cora had always been composed, controlled, but this was different. This was confidence bordering on arrogance. I was just telling him about it. These things happen in nice neighborhoods, she said, meeting my gaze straight on. Professionals target empty houses. You should upgrade your security system. Interesting advice. Her eyes didn't waver. Leonard shifted in his seat, glancing between us like a child watching parents argue. The meeting lasted another 15 minutes. Cora dominated the conversation, steering it away from specifics. Leonard said almost nothing. When they left together, her hand was on his elbow, guiding him. I sat there for another 10 minutes, adding notes to my mental ledger. That afternoon, I drove downtown to Marcus Gates's office. Marcus had handled my business contracts for 15 years, had drafted Rita's will, had become something closer to a friend than just an attorney. His office overlooked Camelback Mountain, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the peak. He poured us both water and sat across from me, fingers steepled. Barney, I've handled your business affairs for 15 years, he said after I'd explained everything. I'm going to be direct. If you're suspecting Leonard, you need ironclad evidence. The burden of proof in family disputes is exceptionally high. I'm not rushing into anything, I replied, but I need to know what legal options exist. Civil litigation, potentially criminal charges if we can prove intent. But first, we document everything. He pulled out a legal pad. I'll need timelines, witness statements, financial records, everything. I spent an hour in his office, going through every detail. When I left, I had a framework. Not justice yet, but a path toward it. That evening, I bought a new notebook, smaller, spiral bound. I labeled the first page with today's date and began writing observations. Leonard's behavior, nervous, evasive, defensive. Cora's behavior, controlling, cold, oddly confident. Together, hiding something. Over the next few days, I established patterns. I wasn't stalking, just observing. Leonard and Cora rented a house in Tempe, a modest 2-bedroom in an aging neighborhood. I drove past at different times, morning, afternoon, evening. I noted the cars in the driveway, visitors, lights on or off, the accumulation of small details. My construction background had taught me that big projects succeeded through attention to small things. A building's integrity depended on thousands of correct decisions, proper measurements, quality materials, skilled execution. This was no different. I was building a case, brick by brick, detail by detail. On the 7th day of watching, I saw something that confirmed everything. Cora pulled up to their rental house in a car I'd never seen before. A new Lexus RX 350, gleaming silver, dealer plates still on it. I sat in my truck, hands tight on the steering wheel, watching Cora step out of that gleaming silver Lexus. She moved with the confidence of someone who believed she'd won. Her heels clicked against the driveway pavement as she walked toward the rental house, not a hint of concern in her posture. I raised my phone and took 3 photos: the dealer plates, the license number, the model badge on the back, a Lexus RX 350, 60,000 minimum, probably more with the trim level I could see from here. Where did they get this money? She disappeared inside. I waited another 10 minutes, then drove home. At my kitchen table, I opened my laptop and started searching. Social media first. Cora's accounts were public, no privacy settings. There, posted 2 days ago. A photo of her standing in front of a modern villa, arms spread wide, caption reading, "New beginnings in our dream home." The location tag said, Paradise Valley. Paradise Valley. That wasn't rental territory. That was money. I opened the Maricopa County Assessor's website and started searching property records. The address from her geotag led me to 8847 Desert Willow Drive. Recent sale. I clicked through to the full record. Buyers: Leonard Tucker and Cora Tucker, joint tenancy. Purchase price: $680,000. Sale date: April the 17th. I stared at that date. April the 17th. 3 days after someone had robbed me. 3 days after $450,000 had vanished from my accounts. I clicked through to the transaction details. Down payment, $500,000 cash. Mortgage, $180,000. $500,000 in cash. 3 days after my money disappeared. The next morning, I drove to Paradise Valley, found Desert Willow Drive winding through a neighborhood where houses sat behind gates and desert landscaping. Number 8847 was a stunning contemporary structure. Flat roof, floor-to-ceiling windows, 3-car garage, mountain views behind it. The kind of place Leonard's modest contracting income could never touch. I pulled over 2 houses down and took photographs, wide shots, close-ups of the address numbers, the landscaping, the architectural details, everything documented. Back home, I called Marcus. An hour later, I sat in his office while he reviewed the property records I'd printed. His expression grew darker with each page. "The timeline is remarkably convenient," he said finally, setting the papers down. "Villa purchased 72 hours after your robbery with almost exactly the amount stolen." "It's my money," I said. "I know it is. Knowing and proving are different things, but this gives us grounds to proceed." He made notes on his legal pad. "I'll pull the complete transaction records, loan documents, seller information, everything." I nodded, then pulled out my phone and dialed Leonard's number. Marcus raised an eyebrow but didn't stop me. Leonard answered on the 3rd ring. "Hey, Dad." "Leonard, I need to ask you directly." I kept my voice level, conversational. "Where did you get money for a villa and a new Lexus?" Silence, long enough that I thought he'd hung up. "What are you doing spying on us?" His voice had an edge now, defensive immediately. $680,000 villa, bought with cash down payment. Where did that money come from? Cora's great uncle passed away. The words came too quickly. Left her money in his will. Which uncle? What was his name? Harold. Harold Thompson, from Michigan. I glanced at Marcus, who was writing everything down. "I'd like to see the probate documents," I said. "Estate tax filings. That's a substantial inheritance." "Why do you need to see anything?" Leonard's voice rose. "This is our business, not yours. Why are you interrogating me? Can't you just be happy for us?" The line went dead. He'd hung up. Marcus set his pen down. Hostile response to reasonable questions. No documentation provided. He made another note. "That's going in the file." Over the next 2 days, Marcus worked his legal channels while I continued gathering evidence. I drove to the Lexus dealership, struck up a conversation with a salesperson, mentioned I was considering an RX 350, asked about recent sales, learned that, yes, a woman had bought one last week, paid mostly in cash, $58,000. I took screenshots of every social media post Cora had made about their blessed life and answered prayers, dated and saved each one. Marcus obtained the full property transaction records from the county recorder. We spread them across his conference table: deed, title insurance, loan documents, seller's disclosure. "Look at the financing," Marcus said, pointing. $500,000 down payment listed as liquid assets. No gift letter, no documentation of source. I did the math on his whiteboard. My stolen amount, $450,000. Villa down payment, $500,000. Lexus, $58,000. Total spent, $558,000. They had some savings, I said. Maybe $50,000. Combined with my money, that's exactly $558,000. Marcus stood back, studying the numbers. "This isn't coincidence, Barney." I stared at the villa photos I'd taken, now printed and pinned to his evidence board. I gave Leonard $50,000 3 years ago to start his contracting business, helped him countless times. This is how he repays that. "The question now is," Marcus said quietly, "what do you want to do about it?" I turned to face him. "I want every dollar back, and I want them to understand what they've done." He studied me for a long moment. "Before we proceed, I need to ask, are you certain you want to pursue this? Once we start, there's no going back. Family relationships will be permanently damaged." "They damaged the relationship when they robbed me," I said. "I'm just responding to their choice." Marcus pulled out a legal pad and drew 3 columns. "Here's what we can do," he said. "Civil litigation, tax authorities, financial pressure." He looked at me over his reading glasses. "This will take time and precision. Are you prepared for that?" I thought of the villa, the Lexus, Cora's confident smile. "I've got nothing but time," I said, "and I learned patience building a business for 30 years. Let's make a plan." Marcus wrote 3 headers across the top of his legal pad: civil action, IRS, financial leverage. I leaned forward, studying the columns. Outside his office window, Scottsdale stretched out under bright sun. Normal people doing normal things. Inside, we were building something precise and unforgiving. "Civil court first," Marcus said, tapping his pen under the first column. "Burden of proof is lower than criminal. We don't need beyond reasonable doubt. We need preponderance of evidence, more likely than not that they took your money. And we have that? The timeline alone is compelling. Combined with their inability to document the supposed inheritance, yes, we have that." He started making notes. "We file a complaint claiming conversion of funds. Seek $525,000 in damages plus attorney fees." "What about the IRS angle?" Marcus leaned back in his chair. "Any inheritance over a certain amount requires estate tax filings. Any large gift requires documentation. They've claimed this money came from a deceased relative, but there's no probate record, no estate filing, no tax documentation. That's a red flag. So the IRS will investigate, they'll audit, and if they find unreported income, the penalties are severe, 20 to 40% of the amount plus interest." He explained the 3rd column, financial leverage. "Through the civil case, we could obtain court authorization to subpoena their bank records. We could also notify the mortgage lender about the pending litigation, creating immediate pressure on their loan." The sandwiches Marcus ordered arrived cold before we finished. We worked through lunch, through the afternoon. By 4 o'clock, the framework was complete. 3 simultaneous attacks from different directions. Over the next week, I met with Marcus 3 more times. Each session refined the plan, sharpened the legal language, strengthened the documentation. On the 8th day, Marcus filed the civil complaint with Maricopa County Superior Court. 30 pages of careful legal reasoning with exhibits attached, property records, timeline analysis, photos, transcripts of my phone call with Leonard, financial correlations. The same day, I completed IRS Form 3949A, Information Referral. Marcus had walked me through every line. I attached supporting documents, property records showing the villa purchase, my own robbery report. bank statements showing my losses, the timeline proving correlation. The IRS moves on their own schedule, Marcus warned, but typically they'll send audit notice within 60 to 90 days of a credible complaint. Through the civil discovery process, Marcus obtained a court order to subpoena Leonard and Cora's banking records. The order arrived at their bank within 3 days. The records came back within 10. We spent an afternoon analyzing them in Marcus's conference room, colored markers in hand, highlighting every relevant transaction. "Look at this," Marcus said, marker pausing over a line. April 15th, $200,000 deposited as cash. April 16th, another $200,000. Same day, $45,000. I calculated quickly. That's $445,000. My accounts showed transfers of $450,000. $5,000 probably went to whoever helped them access your accounts, or transaction fees. Marcus circled the deposits. "This is your money, Barney. These records prove it." The money flow was clear now. My accounts to cash to their bank to the villa down payment and Lexus purchase. A trail that wouldn't hide under scrutiny. Marcus drafted the final element, formal notice to the mortgage lender holding the villa loan. The letter informed them of pending litigation and potential fraudulent source of down payment funds. Not an accusation. Just information they had legal right to know. "This creates immediate pressure," Marcus explained. "Lenders don't like clouds on their collateral. They may demand additional documentation from Leonard and Cora, may even call the loan if they suspect fraud." On the 13th day since we'd started planning, everything was ready. Documents filed, complaints submitted, court orders executed, bank records obtained, evidence compiled into 3 thick binders. "How long will this take?" I asked. "Civil litigation? 6 months to a year typically. IRS investigation? Could be faster, could be slower. The mortgage lender issue creates immediate pressure, though." "I'm not in a hurry," I said firmly. "I want this done right." "Good, because rushing leads to mistakes, and we can't afford mistakes with family litigation." Marcus turned serious, leaning back in his chair. "Before we file, I need you to understand something. Once these papers are served, Leonard and Cora will know you're coming after them legally. They may retaliate, spread rumors, cut off contact, turn other family members against you. They already cut off the relationship when they robbed me," I said. "I'm just making them pay for that choice." Then we proceed. I'll have process servers deliver the civil complaint tomorrow. What happens after they're served? They'll have 30 days to respond. They'll hire an attorney. Discovery will begin. We'll request documents. They'll request documents. Depositions will happen. Eventually, we'll get a trial date. And the IRS? They move on their own timeline. But with this level of documentation, they'll take it seriously. Marcus slid the filed complaint across his desk. Official stamps, case number, Superior Court seal. "This gets served tomorrow morning," he said. "Are you ready?" I picked up the document. 30 pages of careful legal language that translated to one simple message. "I know what you did, and you're going to pay for it." "I'm ready," I said. The next morning, I woke early, made coffee, sat by the window watching the sunrise paint the desert orange and gold. At 9 o'clock, my phone buzzed. Marcus's text was brief. Served, both of them, at the villa. I set the phone down, stared at my coffee. Now we wait, I thought. Now we watch them panic. I sat by the window, coffee cup steady in my hands, staring at Marcus's text. Served, both of them, at the villa. 9:15 in the morning. Somewhere across town, Cora was reading 30 pages of legal language that spelled out exactly what I knew and what I intended to do about it. Leonard was seeing his father's name on official court documents, realizing this wasn't going away. I imagined the scene. Process server at their expensive front door. Cora's confident expression crumbling as she scanned the complaint. Leonard's hands shaking as he turned pages, seeing words like conversion, fraud, civil theft. I took a sip of coffee and waited. The phone started ringing at 10:30, Cora's name flashing on the screen. I watched it ring through to voicemail. 2 minutes later, another call. Then another. By noon, 12 missed calls and 7 voicemail messages I hadn't listened to. I silenced the phone and set it face down on the counter. At 3 in the afternoon, a car door slammed in my driveway. Through the window, I saw Leonard walking toward the house, shoulders hunched, moving like a man heading to execution. I opened the door before he could knock, stood in the doorframe, made no move to let him enter. "Dad, please." His voice shook. "You have to listen to me. This has gotten out of control." "Has it? The lawsuit, the IRS letters?" He gestured wildly. "You're trying to destroy us." "I'm trying to recover what you stole," I said. "There's a difference." Leonard looked worse than I'd ever seen him. Weight loss, dark circles under his eyes. His shirt was wrinkled, untucked on one side. "It was Cora's idea," he said, words tumbling out. "She convinced me that you wouldn't miss the money, that you owed it to me after everything." "After everything? I gave you $50,000 to start your business, helped you countless times. And you think I owed you more?" "No, that's not—" He ran his hand through his hair. "I mean, she made it sound different. You're a grown man, you made your choice. We can pay it back." Desperation made his voice higher. "Set up a payment plan, just drop the lawsuit." "Can you pay back $450,000, plus the $20,000 in jewelry, plus legal fees? Over time, we can sell the house. You'll be selling the house anyway. The court will see to that." Leonard's face crumpled. "You're my father. Doesn't that mean anything?" I felt something cold settle in my chest. "You were my son. That should have meant something to you when you decided to rob me." "Dad, you'll see me in court. Bring your lawyer." I stepped back and closed the door. Through the peephole, I watched him stand there for a full minute, staring at the closed door. Then he walked back to his car, head down, defeated. I pulled out my phone and started recording notes. Time, 3:07 p.m. Duration, approximately 8 minutes. Leonard's statements claimed Cora pressured him, offered to repay, blamed her repeatedly, showed consciousness of guilt. At 7 that evening, Marcus called. "How did Leonard seem?" he asked. "Scared, trying to shift blame to Cora, offering to pay back money they've already spent. His visit actually helps us, shows consciousness of guilt, and if he's willing to testify that Cora orchestrated it, he won't," I said. "He's weak, but he's not a complete traitor to his wife, not yet." "Fair assessment. Listen, I have updates. The mortgage lender received our notification and is requesting documentation from Leonard and Cora about source of funds for the down payment. The IRS letters were delivered via certified mail this afternoon, both signed for. So they received everything in one day." "Exactly. Civil lawsuit, IRS audit notice, mortgage lender inquiry. They're cornered now. Let's see how they respond." After hanging up, I stood at the window until the sun set. The villa, the Lexus, the stolen money. They thought they'd gotten away with it. Thought I was too old, too trusting, too passive to fight back. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This isn't over. You'll regret this. C. Cora, threatening me now." I forwarded the text to Marcus with a single word. Evidence. She wanted a war. She was about to discover I'd been preparing for battle while she was spending my money. 2 days later, I sat at my home office desk, reading an email from Marcus. "They've hired representation, Bradford and Associates." I searched the firm online. Mid-tier practice, family law, civil disputes, some criminal defense work. Not the high-powered attorneys someone truly innocent would hire. Just competent enough to mount a defense, expensive enough to drain their resources further. Good. Every dollar spent on lawyers was one less dollar they had to live on. The first call came from my cousin Helen in Phoenix that afternoon. "Barney, I'm worried about you," she said, her tone carefully neutral. "Leonard called yesterday. He says you've been confused lately, making wild accusations. Is everything all right?" I understood immediately. Cora was painting me as a senile old man, unable to think clearly. "Helen, I'm remembering perfectly," I said. "Leonard and Cora stole $450,000 from my bank account. I have documentation, police reports, and evidence. This isn't confusion. This is theft. But he's your son, which makes what he did worse, not better." She ended the call quickly, uncomfortable. Over the next 3 days, 2 more relatives phoned with similar concerns. Each time, I explained calmly, precisely what had happened. Some believed me, some didn't. 4 days after being served, Leonard's attorney filed a formal response and counterclaim. Marcus emailed me the document with a note. "Predictable, but weak. We'll destroy this." I read through the legal language. Their defense claimed I had verbally promised Leonard the money as an advance inheritance, and now regretted my generosity due to age-related confusion. No documentation, no witnesses, just Leonard's word. Marcus called that evening. "They're claiming verbal gift," he said. "No documentation, no witnesses, just Leonard's word that you promised him the money." "I never promised him anything. Why would I give him that amount and not tell him?" "Exactly. Their theory requires believing you secretly promised nearly $500,000, never mentioned it to anyone including your attorney, kept no records, then coincidentally got robbed of exactly that amount right before he bought a villa. Sounds ridiculous when you say it that way. Because it is ridiculous. No judge will buy it. The next day, a certified letter arrived from Bradford and Associates. Standard intimidation, demanding I cease all contact with Leonard and Cora, stop discussing the case with third parties, and retract my IRS complaint. They threatened legal action for defamation and harassment. I photographed the letter and sent it to Marcus. His response came within minutes. "Standard bluster, they have nothing." That morning, Rosa stopped me in my driveway, her expression concerned. "Someone called me yesterday," she said quietly. "A woman claiming to be from your family. Asked questions about whether you've seemed forgetful, if I've noticed personality changes. I told her you've been sharp as ever." "Thank you, Rosa." I paused. "Would you be willing to give a formal statement about seeing Leonard's car that day?" She hesitated, then nodded. "What they did was wrong. I'll tell the truth." The next afternoon, I met Rosa at a coffee shop. Marcus joined us, legal pad and recorder ready. "Mrs. Miller, you're not getting involved in a dispute," Marcus said gently. "You're providing factual testimony about what you observed, that's all." "Will I have to go to court?" she asked. "Possibly, but I'll prepare you completely. You just tell the truth about what you saw." Rosa took a breath. "Then I'll speak the truth." Over the following week, Marcus systematically built our response. He obtained security camera footage from Rosa's home, showing Leonard's vehicle in my driveway during my Sedona trip, pulled complete phone records proving no conversations about gifts or inheritance, documented the timeline showing the villa purchase occurred before any alleged gift discussion. I compiled 5 years of bank statements, no history of large gifts to Leonard, no pattern supporting their story. My neighbor Tom knocked on my door one evening, USB drive in hand. "I heard someone's been asking questions about you around the neighborhood," he said. "Figured you might need this." "You don't have to get involved, Tom. You've been a good neighbor for 15 years. I saw that Leonard character skulking around your place in April when you were gone. Seemed off. This footage shows him coming and going. Thought you might want it." "I do, thank you." By the end of the week, Marcus had everything organized in his conference room. Security footage timestamps, Rosa's notarized statement, 5 years of bank records, phone logs. The counterclaim sat in the middle, looking pathetic, surrounded by documentation. "Their attorney will see this and advise them to settle," Marcus said. "The alternative is complete destruction at trial. What if they don't settle? Then we file our response, move to expedite discovery, and let the IRS audit run its course." He looked at me seriously. "Barney, within 60 days, they'll be facing civil judgment, IRS penalties, and potential mortgage foreclosure. The financial pressure will be enormous." I thought about the villa, the Lexus, Cora's confident smirk. "Good," I said. "Let them feel pressure. Let them understand what it's like to lose everything." 2 weeks later, I sat at my desk reading Marcus's email. Subject line, IRS audit, official notice. They received audit notification yesterday. 60 days to produce documentation. I opened my calendar and marked the deadline. 60 days to provide inheritance paperwork that didn't exist. Estate tax filings that were never made. Gift tax returns they'd never filed. 5 years of income statements showing phantom relatives and imaginary windfalls. The IRS demanded comprehensive financial documentation. Leonard and Cora had 2 months to create something from nothing. I marked another date, the civil case discovery deadline, and another, their next mortgage payment. The calendar filled with converging pressure points, each one tightening the noose. 10 days into the audit period, I was checking email when I saw the Lexus listing. Online marketplace, photos of their silver luxury vehicle, price $52,000, below market value. The description said, "Must sell quickly, motivated seller." I took screenshots. Over the next week, I watched the price drop. $52,000 to $49,000, then $47,000. Desperation had a dollar amount, apparently. The villa stayed off the market. They couldn't sell it with a lawsuit filed against the title. Smart enough to know that much, at least. Marcus forwarded me a letter from the mortgage lender's legal department. The bank had discovered the pending litigation through routine title monitoring. They wanted proof the down payment came from legitimate sources. 30 days to provide documentation or face acceleration of the entire mortgage. "They're trapped," Marcus said when I called him. "Can't provide documentation without admitting theft." How much time before the bank forecloses? If they can't provide guarantees, foreclosure proceedings could start within 90 days. Everything was working exactly as planned. Late on a Wednesday night, past 11, I heard knocking at my door. Persistent, desperate. Through the window, I saw Leonard's car in my driveway. When I opened the door, he looked destroyed, unshaven, clothes rumpled like he'd slept in them, eyes red-rimmed and haunted. "We need to talk," he said, voice breaking. "Please, just 5 minutes." I let him in. Calculated decision. I wanted to hear what desperation sounded like. Led him to the living room, gestured to the couch. I took the chair across from him, maintaining distance. "I know you don't want to see me," Leonard began, sitting on the couch edge, hands clasped between his knees. "But I had to try one more time. Say what you came to say. We can't survive this." The words tumbled out. "The IRS wants documentation we don't have. The bank is threatening foreclosure. Our attorney bills are $15,000 already, and they're demanding another retainer. You should have thought about legal fees before you committed felony theft." It was Cora's idea. He looked up at me, eyes pleading. "She said you'd never notice, that you had more money than you needed, that you owed it to me for my childhood. She planned everything, accessed your computer during previous visits, copied your passwords. She transferred the money while you were in Sedona. I helped, but I didn't want to. Your childhood was fine. I gave you everything. I know that now." His head dropped into his hands. "She twisted everything, made it sound justified. I was weak. I'm sorry." "You were more than weak. You were my son. You knew my passwords, my schedule, my security. You used that trust to rob me. If you drop the lawsuit, we'll sell the villa, pay you back every dollar, set up a payment plan for the rest. You can't sell the villa with a lawsuit filed against it. The title is clouded. You should know that." His voice cracked. "Then tell us what to do. There has to be a way out of this." There was a way out. It was called not stealing from your father. Leonard sat in silence for a long moment. "Cora says this is my fault, that I should have stood up to you, should have hidden things better, should have had a better story. She's furious at me. And you think I should feel sorry for you because your partner in crime is angry?" He looked up, eyes desperate. "I think you should remember I'm your son. That should count for something." I stood, conversation over. "It should have counted for something when you decided to rob me. If you'd come to me the day after it happened, confessed, returned the money, maybe we could have worked something out. But you bought a villa, bought a luxury car, lied to my face. Now it's too late." At the door, Leonard made one last attempt. "What do you want from us? Complete destruction? I want my money back. I want justice. I want you to understand actions have consequences. We understand now, please." Now, understanding comes too late. You'll see me in court. I closed the door and immediately pulled out my phone. Sent the recording and a summary to Marcus. His response came within minutes. Full confession, Cora's premeditation confirmed. This changes everything. 3 days passed quietly. I expected another visit from Leonard, maybe his attorney, possibly even the police if Leonard decided to turn himself in. What I didn't expect was Cora. The doorbell rang mid-morning. I looked through the window. She stood on my doorstep, arms crossed, face hard with fury. Even from inside, I could see her jaw clenched, eyes blazing. I opened the door. "You!" she said, voice shaking with rage. "This ends now." Cora didn't wait for an invitation. She stepped forward, aggressive, voice rising. "I hate you!" The scream was loud enough that Rose's curtains moved next door. "You're destroying us! Over what? Money you don't even need? You're a bitter old man who can't stand seeing your son happy." I stood in the doorway, blocking entry, and let her rant. 30 seconds of fury before I spoke, voice quiet and level. "I'm destroying you? Interesting perspective from someone who stole $450,000 from me." The number, stated so precisely, cut through her righteous anger. She flinched slightly. You didn't just take money, Cora. You broke into my home, stole my passwords, committed identity theft and wire fraud. She tried to recover, shifting tactics. We can fix this. We'll sell the villa, give you whatever we get. The Lexus too. It's already listed. We'll pay you back over time, set up a plan. Just drop the lawsuit and call off the IRS. Desperation edged into her voice despite the anger. Whatever you want, she continued. We'll do whatever you want. Whatever I want. My tone didn't change. What I want is my $450,000, plus the $20,000 in jewelry you took, plus 18 months of compounding interest, plus compensation for $18,000 in legal fees. Can you write me a check for that right now? Her jaw worked, but no sound came out. That's what I thought. The breakdown happened suddenly. Cora's aggressive posture collapsed. Please, her voice cracked. We're losing everything. The IRS wants money we don't have. The bank is threatening foreclosure. We can't afford our attorney anymore. Leonard is falling apart. You're going to destroy us completely. Tears started. Whether genuine or tactical, I didn't care. You're supposed to be family. She grabbed at the emotion. Leonard is your son. How can you do this to him? How could he do what he did to me? You're asking the wrong question. He made a mistake. People make mistakes. Mistakes are accidental. Theft is intentional. You planned this. You accessed my computer on previous visits. You waited until I left town. You transferred the money in 3 separate transactions to avoid detection flags. That's not a mistake. That's premeditated theft. What do you want from us? Blood? We're suffering. Isn't that enough? I want my money back. I want justice. I want you to understand that actions have consequences. We understand. We get it. What more can we do? You can appear in court. You can pay the judgment when it comes. You can face the IRS audit. You can experience exactly what you put me through when I discovered my life savings were gone. Cora shifted tone again, calculating even in desperation. The villa will sell for at least $600,000. That's more than you lost. Take it. Take everything. Just end this. You can't sell it. The title has a lawsuit filed against it. No title company will insure the sale. You created that problem when you bought stolen property. Her frustration broke through. Then, what are we supposed to do? Face the consequences of your choices. Her voice broke completely. I'm begging you. Leonard is your son. Doesn't that mean anything? My expression didn't change. You asked me that same question already through Leonard. My answer hasn't changed. He was my son. That should have protected him from ever considering this. Instead, he used that relationship to rob me. Being family made what you did worse, not better. So there's nothing? No amount we can pay? No apology you'll accept? You could have apologized 6 weeks ago. You could have returned the money immediately. You could have confessed. Instead, you bought a villa. You bought a car. You lied about inheritance. You filed counterclaims. You called my family and told them I was senile. No, Cora, there's nothing you can do now. Rage returned through her tears. You'll regret this. We'll fight you. We'll drag this out for years. You'll fight with what money? Your attorney already wants payment you can't make. The IRS wants documentation you don't have. The bank wants guarantees you can't provide. Fight all you want. You're fighting gravity. I hate you. I stepped back. You already said that, and I already told you. You stole nearly $500,000 from me. Did you think I'd just accept it? This isn't the end, Cora. This is just the beginning of consequences. I closed the door in a single smooth motion, stood in my hallway, listening to her footsteps retreating down the walkway, heard her car door slam, heard the engine start. Through the window, I watched her sit in the driver's seat for a long moment, hands on the steering wheel, head down. Then she pulled away. The house was quiet again. I thought about the night this started, coming home to find my house ransacked, my accounts emptied, my trust shattered, remembered the shock, the violation, the betrayal. Now I'd watch both of them break. Leonard with his desperate late-night confession, Cora with her rage crumbling into begging. But I wasn't finished. My phone buzzed. Marcus. IRS assessment finalized. Penalties calculated at $180,000. Demand letter being sent this week. I texted back. Good. The pressure would only increase from here. 3 weeks later, Marcus forwarded me the official IRS assessment letter. Clean government letterhead, precise bureaucratic language. One crucial number. $180,000 in penalties for unreported income. Payment deadline, 30 days. I marked my calendar with overlapping dates. IRS payment deadline, trial date, mortgage due date. The pressure points converged like a closing fist. The trial happened on a sweltering July morning. Maricopa County Superior Court. Courtroom 3, Judge Morrison presiding. Leonard and Cora sat with their attorney at the defense table, looking diminished in the formal setting. I sat behind Marcus, maintaining neutral expression. Marcus presented our evidence methodically. Timeline showing villa purchase 3 days after my robbery. Bank records demonstrating cash deposits matching stolen amounts. Leonard's recorded confession. Rosa's testimony about seeing his car. Security footage from 3 different neighbors. Their attorney offered weak defense about verbal gifts. Judge Morrison cut through it quickly. "The evidence is overwhelming," she said, voice crisp and final. This was theft, pure and simple. The judgment came 2 days later. I sat in Marcus's office while he read it aloud. $450,000 in stolen funds, $75,000 in compensatory damages, $18,000 in legal fees, total judgment, $525,000. Judge Morrison had also ordered immediate garnishment of Leonard's wages and liens on any remaining assets. "The defendants will pay this judgment in full," the judge had written, "however long it takes." Within a week, the villa sold. Short sale approved by the bank, priced at $580,000, $100,000 below what they'd paid. The bank took its mortgage balance first. The IRS claimed its portion. The remaining proceeds, $180,000, transferred to me through the court system. Marcus called when the money hit my account. First payment received, $180,000. I checked my balance, saw the number, felt nothing resembling victory. Over the following weeks, Marcus forwarded updates. Leonard's wages garnished at 25%. Cora working at a salon, wages also garnished. The Lexus sold for $45,000, payment seized for the judgment. Every asset they had got tagged and monitored. "They're living in a studio apartment," Marcus reported. "Everything extra goes to you." I created a spreadsheet, date, amount, source, running total of recovered funds, amount still owed. The numbers told their own story. $180,000 from villa sale, $45,000 from Lexus, $3,000 monthly from Leonard's garnishment, $2,000 monthly from Cora's. The recovery was systematic, relentless, mechanical. In early August, Marcus mentioned casually, "My paralegal saw the divorce filing, Cora Tucker vs. Leonard Tucker, citing irreconcilable differences. I absorbed this information without comment. The marriage, built on greed and theft, couldn't survive consequences. I'd expected this. I drove past the villa once after the sale closed, saw new owners' cars in the driveway, different furniture visible through windows, felt no sense of triumph, just acknowledgement that chapter was closed. By late August, the spreadsheet was clear, $420,000 recovered, $105,000 still owed. The garnishment would continue for years, a constant reminder of their choices. Marcus called with his final update before vacation. "You've recovered 80%, Barney. The rest will come. Slowly, but it'll come. 80%. My stolen money returned, my stolen jewelry. Irreplaceable, but compensated. My stolen peace, partially restored." That afternoon, I saw Leonard's car pull into my driveway. He sat there for 5 minutes before getting out. Walked to my door like a man walking to judgment. I watched through the window, deciding. Then I opened the door. Leonard stood on my doorstep looking years older than his age. Cheap clothes, borrowed car visible in the driveway. Physical markers of his fallen status. I opened the door wider than I had in months. "Come in," I said. He followed me to the living room, sat on the same couch where he'd confessed weeks earlier. But everything was different now. He wasn't making excuses or bargaining. He was simply broken. "Dad," he said, voice cracking immediately. "I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just needed to tell you, face to face, that I'm sorry, truly sorry, for all of it." The words poured out between sobs. Cora had convinced him I wouldn't notice the money. She'd framed it as taking what he deserved. He'd been weak and greedy and stupid. "But those are explanations, not excuses," Leonard said. "I made the choice. I knew it was wrong. I did it anyway. and I destroyed our relationship. I let him talk for 10 minutes, let him empty himself of words and guilt. When he finally stopped, exhausted, I spoke quietly. You're right. You destroyed our relationship. The question now is whether anything can be rebuilt, and what that would look like. Leonard looked up, something like hope flickering in his eyes. I won't lie to you, I continued. I don't forgive you yet. I'm not sure when I will, or if I completely can. What you did broke something fundamental: trust, family bonds, my sense of safety in my own home. I paused, choosing words carefully. But you're still my son. I haven't stopped being your father, even when you stopped acting like my son. Over the next hour, we talked. Leonard explained Cora had filed divorce papers blaming him for everything, moved to Nevada to escape judgment enforcement, cut off all contact. He lived in a studio apartment now, working extra hours to pay the garnishment, would be doing so for years. I accept that, Leonard said. I earned these consequences. I just hope someday I can earn your trust back too. I made coffee, first domestic gesture toward him in months, sat across from him rather than standing over him. Why did you really come here today? I asked. Because I needed you to know I understand what I did. Not just that I stole money. I understand that. But that I broke your heart. I betrayed you. I made you question your own judgment about your family. I took your sense of security. Something in me softened slightly. That's closer to understanding than you've shown before. Cora's gone. The villa's gone. The money's gone. But the worst loss is you, Dad. That's the one I think about at night. I set my coffee down. I need you to understand something, Leonard. I can have a relationship with you again, eventually, but it won't be what it was. That's gone permanently. I know. Trust takes years to build. You destroyed it in one decision. Rebuilding it will take even longer, if it's possible at all. I'll spend however long it takes. I don't expect you to let me back into your life fully, but if I can earn even a small place there again, I'll consider that a gift. Then start by proving yourself through actions, not words. Pay your judgment. Live honestly. Become someone worthy of trust again. We'll see where that leads. At the door, Leonard paused. Do you hate me? I considered the question honestly. No, I'm disappointed in you. Deeply disappointed. But hate? No. You're still my son. I just need time to reconcile that with what you did. Can I call you sometimes? Not often, just to check in. Once a month, no more. We'll see how that goes. Once a month. Thank you, Dad. After he left, I stood at my window, watching the sunset paint the desert sky. The same window where I'd stood the night I discovered the robbery, feeling violated and betrayed. 4 months had passed since that night. 4 months of investigation, litigation, confrontation, and recovery. Marcus called the next day with final numbers. $485,000 recovered of the $525,000 owed. 92%. The rest will trickle in over the next year or two. You won, Barney. I got my money back, I said. I proved they couldn't steal from me without consequences. But one, I lost my son for months, maybe years. My family is fractured. I spent half a year in legal battles. That's victory? That's justice, Marcus said quietly. Victory and justice aren't always the same thing. No, they're not. I stood at that window again that evening, sunset fading into dusk. My bank account was whole again, not completely, but close enough. The house was mine alone, secure once more. Leonard would call next month. We'd talk briefly, cautiously, feeling our way toward whatever relationship might be possible. Years from now, maybe we'd find something resembling the bond we once had. Maybe not. Cora was gone, Nevada or wherever she'd run to, away from consequences she'd earned. I didn't hate her. I didn't think about her at all anymore. I'd proven something through this ordeal, to myself more than anyone. At 67, I wasn't helpless, wasn't weak, wasn't someone who could be robbed and dismissed. I'd fought back, methodically, legally, effectively, and I'd won. Not the way I wanted. I'd wanted a family I could trust, not a son I had to rebuild a relationship with from scratch. But I'd won the way that mattered, justice served, strength proven, lessons taught. The sunset faded completely. I turned from the window. Time to make dinner, time to plan tomorrow, time to live the quiet life I'd earned. But now I knew. If someone tried to take it from me again, I'd fight just as hard, and I'd win again. If you like this story, please Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.